Good morning everybody and welcome back to the channel. Right, I'm surprised I'm sounding as chipper as I do at the moment. I do suffer from insomnia every now and then, and it got me good and proper last night. I probably got about 2 hours sleep. I meant to be up at sort of 5 o'clock this morning to do the video, get it all done and dusted by 7 o'clock in the morning. Didn't happen. I just couldn't bear to get out of bed even though I was wide awake. I got up in the end and just sat in front of the TV, could not be arsed with this at all. But it's come to halfway through the morning. It's now, let's see, 11:30, so I've woken up a little bit, so I'm going to see how this is going to go, but I'm not holding that much hope at all. I definitely want to bring this in at an hour or under for sure today, but we'll see how we go. At last we're into March. Thank God it's starting to warm up a bit. I know it's still cold outside, but at least we've got the sun out and that's a step in the right direction, so fingers crossed it's only going to get better from here on in. So I'll dive right into the comments, and we'll see how we do with this. Lee, loved the outtakes at the beginning, cracked me up. Oh shit, fuck bollocks, haha, tremendous. I'm glad you enjoyed me making a complete tit of myself yet again. It did not go well last week. Every time I started it was like, oh Jesus Christ, not again. But you get days like that. Callie, you'll know this, you do videos. Ollie, you're the same. You must get times when it just doesn't go well and you get halfway through it and you think, oh bleeding hell, can I really be arsed with this? And that's how it was last week, but as it turned out it was okay. But hopefully we will be outtake free today with a bit of luck, but glad you enjoyed it, Lee. Chris, it is so good to see you back making comments on videos, mate. I have really missed your input, absolutely, and it's so good to see you back with us. Good to see your face on a Saturday morning. A nice catch up for me on the group too. It's just good to have you back, mate. So good to have you back. Go Tell the Spartans is on my watch list. Apparently it's quite an accurate portrayal of the incident at Mukwa, and I love me a war movie. I just remember Go Tell the Spartans coming to Burton Odeon mid to late 70s, around about 77, and really wanting to see it, not realising at the time that it was an X certificate, so obviously I couldn't get in. But I'm really glad that I've got a copy of it now. It only came back under my radar thanks to a thread we were running on Burt Lancaster a couple of weeks back, and we were all naming our favourite Lancaster movies, and that was one that came up from somebody else, and I thought, do you know what, that's that one I wanted to see years ago, so I'll grab it. So that Blu-ray is actually a German import. It's not available over here, but I can't wait to take a look at it, so I shall let you know when I've watched that, and if you grab it as well, we can compare notes on that one. Maverick needs to be watched. It's a great comedy western. The chemistry between Gibson and Foster is perfect. Light-hearted fun at its finest. I can't wait to watch this. Now, when it first came out, 95 or 96 was it, or is it more recent than that? I wasn't into the thought of it at all. I was not into westerns. My dad used to watch the occasional one, but he was more into war movies. But I was not into westerns at all, apart from a couple that I'd seen. I think it was Magnificent Seven and possibly Shane. So westerns were just not something that I ever bothered with. And when this one came out, I thought, no, I wouldn't even entertain it. Now I want to see as many westerns as I can. I want to see Maverick, which I've now got. The Quick and the Dead is another one, starring the late great Gene Hackman, which is another one that I want to take a look at. So I shall let you know what I think of that. You've obviously seen it, being Mel Gibson's greatest fan. So, and if you say it's good, then that's good enough for me. So I shall let you know on that one. Minotaur. Didn't know it existed, but I shall watch a trailer now and hope that it's watchable, as both actors are sure to put on a show. This is one that I got last week or the week before, and this was based on a discussion a colleague and I were having at work about movies. Basically, her husband loves sort of mythology type movies, Greek mythology, that kind of thing, and he'd spotted this one on some forum or other and had never heard of it, and with it having Tom Hardy and I think it's Rutger Hauer It's going to be good, isn't it? It's going to be good. I think it's about 2.5 hours long, so I've got to set aside an evening to watch that one. It's not really Rob's kind of thing, so that's going to be one for me on my own. But I'm definitely going to take a look at that, and that's another one that we can hopefully compare notes on when we both watched it. 46 quid, not bad for some beautiful artwork, storylines, and work out every time you want to read a chapter. It's a cracking book. I've had a flip through it, and it's one of those that I'm just going to be diving into regularly. The photographs and stuff, it's just beautiful. And I love Owen Allen's work, absolutely love his TV series. Massive fan of Lost in Space when I was a kid, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, The Time Tunnel, Land of the Giants. And his movies, The Poseidon Adventure, The Swarm, Towering Inferno, When Time Ran Out, all good, all good. So that purchase of that book was absolutely a no-brainer. Talking of expensive purchases, I've been eyeing up a couple of collector's editions on 4K. My most expensive was the Marvel's Infinity Saga, purchased for £365 at the time. I remember you getting that and showing it on a video. What a lovely set that is. And it was £365 at the time. That was 2022. This is now at £899 second hand on Amazon. You've got a real collectible there. That's definitely worth holding on to. And my single most expensive film was A Never-Ending Story, 145 quid with delivery. Wow. Which edition was that? £145 for Never-Ending Story. I bought that maybe about 6 months ago, and I think it cost me about £7.99. Mine is obviously a standard edition. I'm guessing yours is not. I'd be very curious to know which edition that you've got, and if you want to do a video on it, I'd be very, very curious to take a look at that. What would be your maximum, and for what film, and what would you hope to get for your purchase? This is going to sound really arrogant, and it's not meant to. Money is no object. If I want something badly enough, no matter how expensive it is, I will probably go for it. The two that I'm looking forward to, and you'll all know this, Saturday Night Fever and Close Encounters. And I would expect all the bells and whistles if I'm going to be paying, and I'm guessing that a full box set with everything in it is going to be in the region of 150 quid or something like that. I will go for them, but I will expect everything to be in there, especially seeing as I've got sort of 3 or 4 editions of each of those films at the moment in my collection. I've got Saturday Night Fever on at least 3 versions, Close Encounters on the same. Saturday Night Fever, I would definitely hope to get the A certificate version, which was only released, I don't even think it was released on VHS. I believe it was only released in the cinemas probably 2 years or so after the original. And as I've said before, it was only done because there were a lot of kids complaining that they couldn't get in to see this movie because it was an X certificate due to the very dark subject matter. So I would love to see that A certificate version again, which basically cut out all of the sex, all of the language, a lot of other stuff as well. I think some of the violence went. So I would love to see that, and also a copy of the novelisation which came out in 1977. I used to have a copy of it many years ago, and for some reason I let it go, and I don't know why. And it would be the same for Close Encounters. I would just want everything they could possibly cram into this box set. For Close Encounters, maybe a nice little model of the mothership would be nice. It's not going to happen, but it would be nice. But yeah, money's no object as far as that goes. If I want something badly enough, usually I will just bite the bullet and go for it. Thank you for the mention. You're more than welcome, mate. I'm lining up some movies I've recently purchased, and we'll do a review shortly when I get through. Have a wonderful weekend, sir. Thank you very much, Chris. And as I say, it is brilliant to have you back. Comment on the videos. Looking forward to hopefully hearing from you next week. David. Good morning, David. Thoughts on the passing of Gene Hackman, and what are your favourite films he starred in? Sad news. Even sadder that there's some kind of not a scandal attached to it, but a mystery attached to it, because apparently there'd been They died probably about a week ago, and they've only just been found. So they're now conducting investigations to try and find out what happened. But yeah, very, very sad news. An absolutely cracking actor. Some of my favourite movies ever had Gene Hackman in them, including The French Connection, which I loved. I've not seen French Connection 2, but the first one was a classic. Best Shot, which I watched a couple of weeks ago, based on Mark's recommendation. It was also known as Hoosiers, which I think was the American title for it. But it was really, really good. Not a fan of sports movies, but really, really enjoyed that one. The Birdcage with Robin Williams and Nathan Lane, that was good. Bonnie and Clyde, one of his earliest roles, with Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty, that was brilliant. Superman the movie, Lex Luthor. There will only be one Lex Luthor. And a sadly underrated thriller called Narrow Margin. I don't know whether you've seen it or not. It's all to do with a lady who witnesses a gangland murder, and she has to be transported to another state to testify. And guess what? The mafia are trying to get rid of her and Gene Hackman, who plays the agent who's hired to escort her, trying to murder them on the way back. And it basically takes place on a train. It's a long train journey, but it's a cracking movie. If you've never seen it, Narrow Margin, well worth watching. I believe it was one of the never seen thread, and it was either Jason or Mark that watched it, and I believe they quite enjoyed it. But it's a cracking movie if you've not seen it. You asked me, are there any Hollywood deaths of actors that left you stunned or emotional? And who will be your ideal James Bond? Oh God, that's a question. Celebrity deaths. It's usually the younger ones that get me because you don't see them coming. Patrick Swayze was a bit of a shock. In fact, it was an incredible shock. River Phoenix, that was another one. Heath Ledger, Farrah Fawcett, who was an incredible actress. Most people had only seen her in Charlie's Angels as the sort of the bubble-headed blonde, but she was an incredible actress. Just look at movies like The Burning Bed, Extremities. Not so much Sunburn, but Sunburn was good. It had a great soundtrack. But Extremities and The Burning Bed really proved that that lady could act. Corey Haim, there was another young one that disappeared on us. Elizabeth Sladen, that caught me by surprise. Played Sarah Jane Smith opposite Tom Baker's Doctor in Doctor Who, and John Pertwee, I believe. Paul Walker, that's another young one that disappeared on us early. Sylvia Crystal, who played Emmanuel, that was another one. Joan Rivers, she's another one. The one that surprised me more than any other, I think, because I really didn't see it coming, was Robin Williams, especially the reasons for it as well. But yeah, it's usually the young ones that you don't see coming. They're the ones that surprise me and quite sort of shock me at the time. My ideal James Bond. I'm not really sure. I do remember getting very, very fired up about the fact that Tom Hardy had been asked to do it. I got very excited about that. I honestly thought that it was on the card, but it turned out to be sort of false news, which is a shame because I think he'd make an incredible Bond. Failing that, I've heard Eddie Redmayne's name thrown into the ring. Taron Egerton, who played Elton John. Henry Cavill obviously would be perfect. He's got the look, he's got the class. I just think he'd make an absolutely brilliant Bond, but apparently he's tied up with something else. So whether it'll happen now that Amazon have got the rights, because they're not going to want to hang around on this. They've paid something like £8 billion for the creative rights to the Bond series. They're not going to want to drag their heels on this. They're going to want to find a Bond. So I don't think we're going to be waiting very long before we find out who is the next Bond. But I would say, personally, Henry Cavill or Tom Hardy. But it wouldn't surprise me if Taron Egerton or Eddie Redmayne got it either. But we'll see. Who are some of your favourite actors and actresses of all time? Oh my God, David, that's a question. I'll just throw some off the top of my head. Humphrey Bogart. Betty Davis, Joan Crawford, Judy Garland, modern day, Warren Beatty. There are so many. Gene Hackman, obviously. So many. I could do with doing a series of sort of showing off Blu-rays of my favourite actors starring in these particular Blu-rays, that kind of thing. But there are so many. Clark Gable, thought he was brilliant. Mostly the art. I do love Malcolm McDowell's movies. I think he's absolutely brilliant. Clockwork Orange, Blue Thunder, If. So many, David, so many. But thanks for that, mate. Much appreciated. I will come back to that question, I promise you. Always good to hear from you. Stuart, morning, Stu. Good morning, mate. I finally managed to watch a few classic films I embarrassingly had never seen. Welcome to my world. Lawrence of Arabia. Really? Wow. French Connection. Brilliant. The Graduate. Saw it recently, enjoyed it way more than I thought I would. I thought Dustin Hoffman was brilliant, and who was it? Was it Anne Margaret played Mrs. Robinson? No, it wasn't Anne Margaret. Leslie Bancroft. Was it Leslie Bancroft? Anne Bancroft, I think. Oh God. Are there some classic big movies you haven't seen? Oh Christ, how long we got, Stu? Very, very many. I'll tell you what. For next week, I will try to find out 5 or 10 movies that I've got in my collection that I've not watched yet, and you would be really surprised that I've not actually seen before. I will do that for next week, so leave that with me, along with the, as you put it, great video, Tony, mate. Thanks, Stu. See you next week with your biblical, historical, epic films. I'll come up with them as well. I know I keep putting these things off, but you must forgive me. But yes, I will do that. I'll sort out 5 or 10 films that you'd be surprised I haven't seen, and also I'll sort out the biblical epics or the historical epics that I've got upstairs, some of which I've seen and some of which I haven't. So, Ollie, morning Ollie. Let's see. Great video, Tony. Thanks, mate. Much appreciated. And thank you for the kind words of having me in the group. You're more than welcome. What a week we have had in the film community with the passing of the great Gene Hackman. Watched French Connection 2 for the first time in his honour and actually thought it was pretty solid, although not as good as the first. This is one that I need to watch. I've seen the first one a couple of times and really enjoyed it. I have to say I didn't enjoy it the first time I watched it, probably about 10 years ago. I considered it at the time to be completely overrated, a little bit boring. Watched it the second time and absolutely loved it, so worked that one out. What's a favourite comedy of yours that they couldn't get? 4, 3, 2, fucking 1. What's a favourite comedy of yours that they couldn't get away with making now? I have seen a few this week, including Just One of the Guys and The War of the Roses. Now, Just One of the Guys, I know this one, I think. Is this the one where a girl pretends to be a guy and she ends up in locker rooms and stuff like that? And The War of the Roses, I remember watching it years and years ago, but I don't remember it being controversial in any way. Obviously that's changed now. That's one that I wouldn't mind watching again. This is Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner, isn't it? Leave that with me. But what I've got here is, I think it's 10 movies that you absolutely could not make nowadays. You would not stand a chance with any of these. I'm going to go through the obvious ones first, because a lot of the members have already seen these, but you won't have seen these, Ollie. So guys, bear with me, just talk amongst yourselves for a minute. First one, Love Thy Neighbour. Now this is based on a TV series from the 70s, the early 70s. It was not considered particularly racist at the time. You would never in a million years get away with showing this on TV now. This is the movie version of that. Basically, it's 2 neighbours, one white couple and one black couple, and what it was basically half an hour every week of name calling. I can't even say the words on here, but some of it was pretty raw, but just good fun. This was from the days when we could actually laugh at each other, and we found things funny that you just wouldn't admit to now, and it's such a shame. But that's the first one. If you've not seen that, that is really funny, and if you're not offended by anything, it's really funny. Next one, another one you know about, Saturday Night Fever. As I've said before, everybody thinks that this is a really, really nice little disco movie, but it's got some very, very dark themes running through this, including sort of racism, sexual assault. The way they treat women in this is absolutely terrible. So you can throw sexism into the ring with this one as well. It's all tied together with an absolutely blinding soundtrack by the Bee Gees, Yvonne Elliman, the Tramps. An amazing film, absolutely brilliant, but it just wouldn't fly now if they remade it. There were rumours going round a while ago that Zac Efron had been approached to play Tony Manero, and at the time, I think this was just when he sort of got through his High School Musical days, and I thought, Jesus, no, they can't do that. Now it'd be a little bit different. He's turned into a fine actor, so I'm probably guessing he could do a remake of this, but they definitely, absolutely 100% could not do it the same way that they did it back in 1977, which may be a good thing, I don't know. And obviously the king, the absolute king of politically incorrect movies, Blazing Saddles, oh my God. I'm hoping you've seen this, Ollie, but if you haven't, please grab a copy and let me know what you think of it. This is basically a catalogue of everything that you cannot say or do nowadays. It was released in '74 when pretty much anything went. Directed by Mel Brooks. It's just funny as hell. Absolutely brilliant. But as I say, the humour, it just would not fly nowadays at all, which is a shame because this is still funny now, sort of 50 years on. This is representative of all the Bond movies. This is Casino Royale from 1967, and it's basically to represent early Bond. I won't say too much about it, but basically, yes, I will admit Bond was a little bit predatory towards women in the early days and probably into the 70s. Not so much when Pierce Brosnan took over, but you watch some of the early Sean Connery movies and some of the early Roger Moore ones, and some of it makes you think, oh, yeah, you won't get away with that now. But that, again, that's just how it was. This is the character, this is how he was written, and I'm really hoping that Amazon don't water that down now that they've got the rights to do this. But yeah, I would say early Bond, a little bit dodgy, but nothing too harmful. Classic, Gone with the Wind. My mum used to love this. Again, if they were to remake this now, which there would be no need to do it because this is perfect. This movie is probably 85 years old and just it's still brilliant. Three and a half hours long. Obviously, it depicts slavery in a positive light, which is not good, and it wasn't good back then, but it certainly wouldn't be good now. But that's another one that would be considered problematic now. This one might surprise you, but I've read on a few forums this weekend that this is considered quite dodgy now, and it's a shame. The Searchers, John Wayne, basically because of the racism displayed towards the Native Americans, all that kind of thing. It's another kind of Gone with the Wind kind of argument, you know, that you couldn't do that now, which you couldn't, and you wouldn't expect to do that now. But that one did kind of catch me by surprise. This one won't. Rita, Sue and Bob too. Brilliant comedy from the mid-80s. The sexual politics in that, no way, not today, which is a shame because the movie itself is absolutely amazing. Seen it many times, still makes me laugh now. But again, raw British entertainment. Woody Allen's Manhattan, you know why. If you've seen Manhattan, you will know why this could never be made today in the same way. Basically, Woody Allen's relationship with a 17-year-old girl, which was probably considered a little bit problematic back then, but it absolutely would be now. It's a cracking comedy and a drama, it really is, and I love Woody Allen's work. But if I had to pick one that I would think, oof, ouch, yeah, that would probably be it. Manhattan. Brimstone and Treacle. This was originally a TV play from the 70s. It was banned due to its subject matter. And like Scum, it was remade into a feature film starring Sting. I daren't even go into this one, but it's called Brimstone and Treacle. If you go onto Google and Google it, you'll find out why that one absolutely would not be made today. And finally, A Clockwork Orange. There have been rumours that a remake of this was coming out with Tom Holland, and there was a picture of him in full Droog makeup and costume, and I have to say he looked amazing. But again, you could not do this nowadays. I mean, there were two things that were genuinely shocking about A Clockwork Orange back in 1971. The kicking of the tramp to death in the underpass at the beginning, and Alex and his gang raping Adrian Corrie while they all sang Singing in the Rain, which, by the way, upset Gene Kelly mightily at the time. And obviously this was banned for quite a few years. It was assumed at the time that it was the censors that had banned it, but it wasn't. It was actually Kubrick himself that withdrew it. He got this rather unfortunate letter from somebody basically threatening his family with violence if he didn't withdraw the film. He approached Warner Brothers, and he was so powerful with Warner Brothers that they agreed to do it. They withdrew the film. Only in England, that's the only territory they did it in. Everywhere else it was freely available, but in England he wanted it withdrawn, and with him being so powerful with them, they just said, yeah, fine. The only reason it came out, I think it was in the mid-90s, was after Kubrick had died, and I believe his family had just said, yeah, you can have it back. So that is 10 movies that I don't think you could make now. Why? I don't know. You know what I mean? I thought we got freedom of speech and all that sort of thing, but apparently we haven't. So, right, I'm going to take a quick break, and I'll be back in a couple of minutes with some more comments. And we're back. Right, continuing with comments. We're on Ollie at the moment. Let's see. I have also seen some cracking British films this week, including The Critic. Looking forward to watching that. This is Saria McKellen, isn't it? Calvary. Not familiar with that one. Gangster Number One. I know of it, and I would like to see it, with it being a gangster movie. Love a good gangster movie. Do you have a favourite underrated British film that people may not have heard of? I would like to carry this over to next week, because I'm fairly certain I have got at least 5 or 10 British movies that maybe not everybody is familiar with. Off the top of my head, I could probably name 2 that I haven't got. Dead Man's Shoes is one of them, which is a Shane Meadows movie. Paddy Considine, basically playing one of the most sinister characters I think I've ever seen in any movie. It's an amazing film, deeply disturbing, deeply unsettling. The scene with the suitcase haunts me to this day. Just brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and it just unnerves me still. And another one that I've not got, that I do mean to kind of get a copy of at some time, is Stan and Ollie. This is Steve Coogan and John C. Reilly playing Laurel and Hardy on their final tour of Britain before Oliver Hardy died. It's absolutely brilliant. They play their parts absolutely superbly. Steve Coogan, I was never a fan of Knowing Me, Knowing You, Alan Partridge, all that sort of thing. Couldn't stand it. But I have to say, he's an amazing mimic. He just played Stan Laurel to perfection for me. I've only seen the film once, and I would love to see it again, so I do need to grab a copy of that on Blu-ray at some point. But that's 2 off the top of my head, and I will sort some more out next week for you, I promise you. I've got at least 3 here that I can see in front of me that it's like, you know, I bet not many people have heard of that one. I'm slouching again. There we go, that's better. Have a great week, and look forward to the video next week. All the best, Ollie. Thank you very much, Ollie, and it's absolutely brilliant to have you as part of the group, mate, and to have you commenting on the videos as well. Let's see, Steve Mack, our Criterion guy. Tony, Anita Dobson came back to film that scene. She did a podcast after with Lacey Turner talking about Angie Watts. Had Leslie Grantham still been alive, I'm sure he would have been featured. God, that is astonishing. The makeup was just... How on earth did they get her looking exactly the same? as I remember her looking the last time I saw her, it was astounding, absolutely astounding. Um, let's see. Mark. Morning, Captain. Morning, Mark. Sydney Poitier. It's Potter, good old grandad. Do you know what? When I talked about To Sir with Love a few weeks ago, I completely forgot that Eric Pollard, old Eric Pollard from Emmerdale, is actually one of the kids in it. Now, Rob's met him. Rob used to do the London Marathon years ago, and he said to me he's met him a couple of times and spoken to him, and he asked him about To Sir with Love. And the first thing he said was, apparently, my God, that was a long time ago. I can only just remember it. But he says, yeah, it was, it was what basically started him in acting. He was also in a movie called The Beast in the Cellar, which Rob also mentioned to him, and he says, I can't remember that one at all. That was with Beryl Reid and Flora Robson. Cracking movie, one of my favourite British movies of all time. So that could feature in that list, Ollie. But yeah, he apparently is a lovely guy. He really is. Better Man. I myself am not a Robbie Williams fan, definitely not a Take That fan, but yeah, the film was all right, wasn't it? It was. It was a lot better than I expected it to be. But it's only the gimmick of the monkey that made me want to watch it. If it had just been about Robbie Williams, I don't think I'd have been so keen to take a look at it. But the gimmick of the monkey just swung it for me. Let me just centralise myself. I do this every week. There we go. If you've got a smart TV, it should have Bluetooth built in, and you just connect a pair of wireless headphones straight to it. I do this sometimes when I get up in the early hours to watch boxing or the UFC, so I don't disturb anyone. I must do this. I really, really must do this, because loud noises disturb the dog a lot. After about 18 months of hearing tests and MRI scans, I finally got my hearing aids a month ago, and they are Bluetooth. Can you hear the dog? And they are Bluetooth as well. I can connect them to my phone and play music through them. Is that what they were designed for? Answer the phone and talk without taking my phone out of my pocket. And most of all, I can connect them to my TV as well. I'm not sure that was the purpose they were built for, but I get it. I totally do get it. It was actually Anita Dobson in EastEnders, no CGI. Astonishing, I have to say. Maverick is an outstanding film. Get it watched. Same time next week. Absolutely, mate. And I will be watching Maverick, I promise you. I promise Chris that I'll take a look at that one as well. Guy. Morning, Guy. Great stuff as always, mate. Cheers, mate. Welcome to New Man Ollie. Nice one, Guy. I'm better now, thank you. Yeah. Oh, God, you weren't too good earlier in the week, apparently, according to the Higgis podcast. Anyway. Bond. Amazon Bond. As long as they don't do lots of ridiculous things. Road to a Million, for example, was good. They're just better not make woke Bond. It's Amazon, so they might just get away with it. I don't know. My personal feelings on this is I think the first movie that they make is going to be absolutely brilliant. What I'm not looking forward to is all of the spin-offs that we've been hearing about for years and years. I think Halle Berry was saying that there was going to be a sort of a spin-off based around her character. Somebody on one of the forums mentioned this week that maybe a Miss Moneypenny sort of spin-off, all that kind of thing. It's just tat. So fingers crossed, let's hope they get it right. Big love to Jason Kerr. From all of us, that is, Jay. Tony's Titbits, good idea. Well, hopefully it won't run over an hour. We won't need to bother with any tidbits. Duel, what an absolute classic. Essential viewing for everyone. Anybody that's not seen Duel really does need to see it. If you want to see the potential that Steven Spielberg had back in 1971 when he made that, Duel is the film to watch. Don't do a rewatch of Avengers. Get on with Life on Mars. I really should get back onto that, shouldn't I? Those Doctor Who Chronicles look awesome. They are absolutely brilliant. They're not cheap, but they're worth it. Nice one, mate. See you next week. You certainly will, Guy. Right, I'm just keeping an eye on this dog because she's wandering about and I get the feeling she's going to want to go out in a minute, which means I might have to take another break for a minute, but we'll see. Callie, morning Callie. Well, it's Saturday morning, so that must mean it's Tony time. Love the outtakes at the start. Oh bollocks, oh fuck, oh bollocks again. You know, Callie, it doesn't always go to plan, and Ollie will know this as well. It doesn't always go the way that you want it to. Night of the Demon, a brilliant black and white classic. I've not seen that film in years. Neither have I, but I'm definitely going to be taking a look at that Arrow copy that I've got, because is it Indicator? It's Indicator, sorry, because the extras look amazing, and Rob's never seen it. When you said Christopher Plummer, I was like, why do I know that name? And then you held up Dreamscape, and instantly I was, oh, that's where I know that name from. Oh my God, Walk the Line. I love that film. Never seen it. I have it on DVD, and I have the soundtrack, which is the full versions of the songs in the films sung by Phoenix and Witherspoon. May have to see about getting it on Blu-ray. I'd be tempted by that one myself, actually. Everybody's saying how good it is. All the best, Jason Kerr. Hope the moves go smoothly and that the work stuff gets sorted out. And again, that's echoed by all of us, Jay. You've never seen My Girl. Wow, just wow. I've never seen My Girl. But hang in there, something to show you. I knew I got the right spider movie. God, there was only one giant spider invasion, thank God. As I say, I have such a soft spot for that film. I absolutely adore it. As bad as it is, to me it's brilliant. As for Food of the Gods 2, not seen it in years, so would be worth a rewatch. I haven't seen it since it was out on VHS, and it is a very difficult movie to get hold of now. You can still get the VHS copies of it, but they are not cheap. So that would be a definite Blu-ray purchase if they ever sort of deem it possible to bring it out again. Will and Harper, I finally got around to watching it. I laughed, I cried, I got angry, but most of all, it struck a chord with me. There were so many moments I just sat there nodding and saying, yep, that's how I felt. But I'll talk more about it on this week's Higgis. Would have talked about it on this week's episode, but due to Guy's illness, Mr. Mount Vesuvius, we had to quickly change topic, and thusly I forgot to mention it during what you've been watching, mate. I'm glad you, well, enjoy. I'm not sure whether enjoy it is the right word for it, but it definitely struck a chord with you, and I really, really liked it. Jeff Goldblum, talented, handsome, and all-round great actor. So my question of the week, what are your favourite Jeff Goldblum performances? I thought he was excellent in The Fly. Shame I can't watch it nowadays because of the arm break scene. He was good in Jurassic Park, enjoyed that one. He's done quite a few, and what I need to do is take a look at his filmography to remind myself of the movies that he's done. So bear with me on that one, Callie. I'm going to come back to that, and this dog is trying to get out. So just bear with me a second. I'm going to take a quick break, and I'll be back in a sec. And we're back. Right, she's still wandering about. I've had to leave my back door open. Grow up if you're all giggling. The back door, the garden, you know what I mean. Where were we? Let's pray continue. It means now basically she can wander in and out as she likes. The only problem is now there she goes. This happens every single time somebody comes up the drive next door. She just barks at everything she does. So please bear with me on this. This doesn't normally happen at 6 o'clock in the morning when I normally record. So this is a rare one, but you'll just have to bear with me on this. Right, where were we? Jeff Goldblum. Yes, I will look into Jeff Goldblum's filmography, Callie, and I'll come up with some more titles that Wikipedia will remind me of certain ones that I've forgotten about, so leave that with me. Thank you for bigging up oh God, put my teeth in. Thank you for bigging up my books. Oh my God, it's cold in here, freezing my tits off now, thanks to that dog. Thank you for bigging up my books. Hopefully by the time this comment reaches you, you should have your link to Twisted Origins, The Rise of the Twisted Sisters. I'm looking forward to hearing what you think of it. I'm going to take a look at it later today. It's been one of those weeks and I just haven't had the time, but I will definitely have a read of it over the next few days. That is a promise. It's only about 34 pages, so even I can manage that. Got to the 38-minute mark and I keep hearing a lot about Better Man. I saw the trailer when I went to see Beetlejuice, and honestly I thought it was a Planet of the Apes spin-off at first glance, but from what everyone is saying, sounds like it's worth a watch. I would definitely say it's worth a watch. And that's coming from a definitely non-Robbie Williams fan. I really, really enjoyed it. A lot better than I thought it would be. The Twilight Zone, love it. The episode you mentioned first is called Time Enough at Last. That's the one. Burgess Meredith, the last survivor of a nuclear war. Let's see. And he's a reader, isn't he? He's an avid reader, and he's never allowed to do it at work. He's never allowed to do it by his wife. Now everybody in the world is dead, he can read, and he breaks his last pair of glasses. Sorry if I've spoilt it for you. But it's a classic tale. It's 70 years old, you must have seen it by now. The Outer Limits, I remember the one they did in the 90s. They tended to remake a lot of these 50s sci-fi movies, sci-fi series in the 90s. Twilight Zone was another one, I believe that was done in the 80s. There were quite a few of them about, and they remade the Twilight Zone again probably 2-3 years ago with Jordan Peele at the helm. Really, really well done, but I couldn't understand half of them, which is Jordan Peele for you. Avengers, Emma Peel, Heart. Classic, absolute brilliant. The Avengers, you just don't get any better. It is just pure 1960s, swinging 60s as it was back then. UFO, I kind of remembered that, but not sure. I think my mum and dad watched it. This is going back to the early 70s. Jerry Anderson's first foray into live action. Just a brilliant series. To this day, The Breakfast Club is one of my favourites. The soundtrack alone is worth watching it for. It's absolutely brilliant. As you saw last week, got a copy of it on Blu-ray. Rob's never seen it. So that's one that's definitely going on a Saturday night for sure. Maverick. I remember watching that film with my dad one Saturday night. It wasn't until years later that I found out it was based on a TV show. May have to track it down and give it a watch. I will let you know what I think of it when I finally get round to watching it. But I get the feeling I'm going to wish that I'd watched it years ago, but we'll see. Oh wow, that book is stunning, honey. It is an absolute work of art. Worth every penny of the £46 that I paid for it. I'll try and do a flip through of it at some point. Another cracking episode, Hon. Thanks for the love as always. See you on the next one. Listen to Higgis yesterday while I was working, the Gargoyles episode. Really, really enjoyed it. I've never seen Gargoyles, never ever, but I will be taking a look at it now I realise that it's on Disney Plus. I've got some notes here. Jimmy Lee, you were saying that I always get caught out by AI, don't I? I'm getting a little wiser to them now. I'm not quite so easy to catch out as I was maybe a few months ago, but I still do get caught out by it. They're very, very cleverly done, don't get me wrong, but when you watch something that you're really looking forward to and you think, I can't wait for that, and then you find out, it's not happening, it's a bit annoying. Let's see, what have I got it? Sorry, I've written all this down on notes while I was working, and I can't actually read my own writing. All I will say about Gargoyles is that is one hell of a roll call of voice actors. Jonathan Frakes, is it? Kate Mulgrew. That list of names that you read out, and I thought they were all voice actors on Gargoyles. That is absolutely incredible. So that is what swung it for me, and I will be taking a look at the first episode very, very shortly. But as I've always said, the sign of a good podcast is to get people interested in a subject that they know absolutely nothing about and have no interest in, and you do that pretty much every week for me. I would never have thought of watching Gargoyles before I listened to you guys. Never in a million years. Did you say Guy didn't like it? He wasn't keen. So anyway, looking forward to next week's. Jason P, morning Jay, great vid mate, cheers Jay. Not much of a comment this week apart from non-movie related EastEnders. That's all right. The EastEnders mag is actually in newspaper form and it looks shit, and for £4 they can stick it up their arse, you tell them. Anita Dobson snuck into the studio to film that scene and wore her very first outfit. That's why it reminded me of the first time I saw her. It was the outfit that she always used to wear. Um, she was at the same time also doing an EastEnders documentary. So if she was spotted on set, she could say this is why she was there. I was as shocked as everybody else when she popped up. While I knew it wasn't CGI, I assumed she must have spent the day there recording it. I did wonder if Den would get the CGI treatment, but then I remembered he was sat for being a perv on his webcam, so maybe not. It was incredible. As I said last week, there aren't many moments in soaps that just make my jaw hit the floor, but that one did. Absolutely. Love seeing Minty and Gary pop in the Vic too. What a moment. Yeah, the thing is, you recognise them straight away. It's not like a lot of the people that come back in and you think, who's that? I don't remember that one. I took a break from EastEnders I think it was in the mid to late 90s. I stopped watching it for quite a few years. I only really started watching it again probably 5 years ago. So there's a great big gap in my viewing. So when people turn up from that particular gap, I don't know them. So EastEnders has been brilliant. Steve McFadden has been awesome, hasn't he just? And they chose the right character to have a breakdown. It showed it can happen to a hard man who has loads of money, kids and family, but in reality he was struggling. It's a hell of a storyline, I must admit, and he's acted it absolutely brilliantly. Brilliant. This year is going to be a tough watch with Nigel's dementia storyline. Are they actually going to keep him in? I hope so. They will obviously kill him off at Christmas or New Year. No doubt Ross Kemp will be back for the funeral too. That's not going to be an easy watch, is it? I love Nigel, absolutely love Nigel. The new producer has done wonders for EastEnders in the last couple of years with storylines and cameos, but is about to leave, so EastEnders will have a new gaffer. They have a lot to live up to, and I hope they do live up to it. Everybody should watch Duel. I saw it way back in the 80s for the first time and loved it ever since. You always throw me a curveball. If you'd have asked me, you know, I'm going to watch Duel, what will I think of it? I'd have said, you probably won't like it, Jay, because you're going to find it really boring. So you've caught me off guard with that one again. It's a classic, an absolute classic. Maverick, what a movie that is. I could watch that every year. That's another one. And it is another one that I've got to bring down and update the watch list. Talking of the watch list, by the way, I'm going to update you on that next week. I'll even show you on screen exactly what I've got in March, April's watch list and what I've watched in January and February. P.S. They put some good films on Prime today. I must have a look. Same time next week. Absolutely, Jay. Today's movie, and this is your never seen for this week. Today's movie is a tribute to the legendary actor Gene Hackman, who sadly died this week, or a few weeks ago they are now saying. It's a bit of a mystery. This wasn't going to be today's movie, so I had to do a reshuffle. The Poseidon Adventure from 1972. Synopsis. A group of passengers must embark on a harrowing struggle for survival after a rogue wave capsizes their cruise ship at sea. Verdict. See, again, I thought I knew what the verdict was going to be and I was completely wrong. I enjoyed this, not sure why I've never watched it before. I'd probably watch it again and buy it if I saw it cheap enough. Glad I've seen it now. And there was a sequel, Beyond the Poseidon Adventure, 1979. Uh-oh. Synopsis. An extension of the previous film wherein a group of adventurers return to the overturned ship to seek several fortunes. Verdict. Shite. I did see that one coming. Even Michael Caine and Sally Field said it was the worst film they've ever done and they only did it for the paycheck. Clint Eastwood and Burt Reynolds turned it down. They wanted Gene Hackman back to play his twin brother, for fuck's sake. Seriously? Even that wouldn't have... I don't even think Gene Hackman could have saved that one. I did see it a long, long time ago and I would love to see it again, but I don't remember being overly impressed with it. Caroline, you said, I love both of these films. Second one, not quite up to the first, but a great cast. I bet Tony is a fan too. He's not, because he's not... have I seen... I've not seen the original Poseidon Adventure. For some reason I've seen Beyond, but not the original. So I'm putting that right. Mark, you said, obviously I know them both, but never seen either of them. That doesn't surprise me in the slightest. So that's all the comments for this week's, guys. I think I've just about covered everybody. So there's a few bits that I've bought. know this. March, I am definitely, hand on heart, going to cut it down, because I've got quite a few here, Blu-rays and DVDs that I bought this week, and I promised a few weeks ago, the dog's growling now, I don't know what she's growling at. I am definitely going to cut it down to, I would say 2, maybe 3 a week maximum. Yeah. First one. Nice one, Ollie. Seeing your copy of this made me think I really, really want to watch that again. Murder by Decree. Easily one of the finest Sherlock Holmes movies ever made, with the great Christopher Plummer. Let's see, James Mason as Watson, Genevieve Bujold, John Gielgud, Donald Sutherland, and I believe David Hemmings is in this as well. Is David Hemmings in this? Yes, he is. Anthony Quayle, Frank Finlay. What a cast. I'm really, really looking forward to watching this again. I haven't seen it for quite a few years, but I remember being very, very impressed with that one. And this is another one that you recommended. Now, I've seen none of these movies, but I thought I'd start with this one. I have got the Judy Garland version upstairs, which I bought a few weeks ago, but I haven't had a chance to get around to it yet. But I've heard such good things about this one, and you were quite praiseworthy of it. A Star Is Born. This is the Barbara Streisand, Chris Christopherson version. Pretty much the same story. I believe it was remade probably 7 or 8 years ago with Lady Gaga and what's his name? Bradley Cooper. Have I got that right? Bradley Cooper. So really, really looking forward to watching this one. I love Barbara Streisand, and Chris Christopherson was amazing in Convoy. I nearly said Cabaret. Convoy. So looking forward to taking a look at that. This is one that was recommended by Mark. I saw it for £4 something on Amazon, so I thought, do you know what? Rather than download it, just grab it. Cinderella Man. Know very little about this. It's to do with boxing. Does it start Paddy Considine, Russell Crowe, and Renée Zellweger? So yeah, looking forward to taking a look at that. And is it also a Shane Meadows film? Have I got that right? I can't see. Got that right. Oh, directed by Ron Howard. Have I got that right? Ron Howard. Now I can see why it's so good, or why it's so well thought of. It's directed by Ron Howard. That's got to be worth a look. Next one. This is one that Sam put me on to. Now I don't know whether he's actually watched it yet, but I'm sure he's got this. But it was on offer on 4K. Rio Bravo. I've never seen it. What turned me on to this is I have got a greatest hits compilation of Dean Martin in the car at the moment, which I'm listening to on the way to work. And Rio Bravo, the title track to this movie, is one of the tracks on that CD. And I thought, you know what, I wouldn't mind watching that. Didn't realise Dean Martin is actually in it alongside Ricky Nelson and obviously John Wayne. Directed by Howard Hawks, king of the westerns. So definitely looking forward to having a look at that in 4K. We were also talking about war movies last week. This is another one that I didn't get to watch with my dad. He loved his war films and he loved this film, but for some reason I never got around to watching this one with him. The Guns of Navarone. Again, stellar cast: Gregory Peck, David Niven, Anthony Quinn, and many, many more, I'm sure. Stanley Baker, Anthony Quayle again, James Darren. It's a long film. I believe it's, let's see, how long is it? Does it say? 145 minutes, so it's nearly 2.5 hours long. But this is one that I never got to watch with my dad, so I thought I'm going to treat myself to that. And this next one came up in conversation or in connection with that one, and I suddenly realised I'd not seen it. I confused this with a movie called Hanover Street, starring, I think it was Leslie Ann Down and Harrison Ford. I don't know why, but I did. But I do remember this coming to Burton Odeon around about 1979, and it got very good reviews in the year that it came out. Force 10 from Navarone, which I'm assuming is a sequel to the original. So really looking forward to having a look at that. Robert Shaw, Harrison Ford. That's the connection with Hanover Street. That's where I've got it from. Barbara Bach, Edward Fox, and Franco Nero. And you've got, look at the extras on the back of that. So Force 10 from Navarone. Looking forward to that one. Callie and Guy, damn you. for getting me onto this. And I've not even taken it out of the cellophane yet, but I will be doing season 1 of Arrow. This was the subject of Higgis, not last week, the week before, I think. Spotted this for £4, so I thought, you know what, if I don't enjoy it, I can just give it away. But I've watched the trailer, and it looks, I can certainly see where they get the Batman connection from. But really, really looking forward to taking a look at the first episode of that, and I'll let you know what I think when I do. Mark, this was your never seen. I think it was either last week or the week before. I didn't realise it was a Danny Boyle film, and I thought, do you know what, I really wouldn't mind a look at that. Sunshine. Never seen it. I know very little about it apart from the fact that an expedition is sent out to reignite the sun as it's going out. Is that right? Have I got that right? Mankind faces extinction because the sun is dying in the year 2057. Got to be worth a look. If Danny Boyle's in the director's chair, that's got to be worth a look. And I know Mark really enjoyed it. Now, Callie, I think you will be impressed with these. I can only get these on DVD. The Blu-rays were outrageously expensive. Wear his glasses. He can't see without his glasses. Keep hearing about this line and how upsetting it is. I kind of put this off for many, many decades because I'm not the biggest Macaulay Culkin fan. I didn't mind Home Alone, and Home Alone 2 were absolutely brilliant. But I've not watched any of his others, and this one just didn't appeal to me. But a lot of people just recently have been talking about this. So I thought, you know what, for the sake of, I think it was about £1.50 something, I'll grab that. And on the same page, obviously My Girl 2, not Macaulay Culkin, but the same young actress that was in My Girl, and also Dan Aykroyd and Jamie Lee Curtis are also in this. Again, for the sake of £1 or £2, it was worth a look. So I'll let you know what I think of that. And also, I'm not the biggest fan of animated movies, as you know, at all. But Callie, you spoke very, very fondly of this one. So I thought I will give this one a go. All Dogs Go to Heaven. Now, I'm a bit of a sucker for movies about dogs, so long as they don't end up dying. Marley and Me absolutely destroyed us when we watched that one. Right? Cracking movie, but bloody hell, it was sad. I'm hoping this isn't going down the same route, but I'll let you know when I've actually watched it. And the other one I got through this week, this is one that was mentioned the other week, and I'd never seen it, as I've not seen, apart from Dead Man's Shoes, I've never seen a Shane Meadows film. 24/7. Know nothing about this apart from it stars Bob Hoskins, and it's something to do with a youth club or something like that. Know very little about it, but I'm looking forward to taking a look at that at some point. And that is everything I bought this week. I got this through yesterday, which is the latest issue of Intermission, which is Talking Pictures TV's official magazine, highlighting everything that's coming up over the next month and the coming months on the channel. I love Talking Pictures TV, and I adore this magazine. That is it. I am done. I think I've gone slightly over an hour, but nothing to get too twisted out of shape about. So thank you so much, as per usual, for joining me. And as I say every week, and I will be saying every week, thank you so much to each and every one of you for your unending and constant support of the channel and me personally. As I say pretty much every week, if it wasn't for you guys, none of this would exist. The channel wouldn't exist, the website wouldn't exist, Instagram, Facebook group, none of that. It just would not, it wouldn't be here. So thank you so much to all of you for basically sticking by me, and for watching these things. Some weeks it can't be easy when I'm getting it all wrong, but I am just so grateful to have you lot. I really am. You're just the best bunch of subscribers, followers, or whatever you want to call yourselves ever, and I'm so lucky to have you all. So thank you so much for joining me. I will be back at the same time next week, answering hopefully all the questions that I've put off this week with a fresh group of DVDs and Blu-rays to show off certain collections and that. Hopefully next week, hand on heart, I will only be ordering, there goes the screen, I will only be ordering those back again. I will only ordering 1 or 2 Blu-rays, and that is my lot. I've seriously got to cut it back, as I said the other week, but I've seriously got to. There was one particular thing that brought that into stark contrast this week, and I'll tell you about it next week. You'll laugh, I didn't, but it will highlight the problem I've got very well. So have a brilliant week, folks. Hopefully we're looking forward now to a little bit of sunshine and it warming up a bit. Have a great week, and I will talk to you all again about the same time next week. Take care. Ta-da.